Guys, I did it again. I tackled a far too small problem with a far too complex solution. Call it over-engineering. So stay tuned, I will present my new organization system for spice racks, squeeze bottles and canned jars. And by the way, all the English content, bye haters, just open up the subtitles. I would like to record both audio tracks, but YouTube hasn't enabled the multi-channel audio for our channel so far, so you have to wait. Recently I released the Frenchfinity system. Frenchfinity is a free subsystem for French cleat walls that allows you to configure custom and perfectly fitting holders for your own tools. Be sure to check out the video if you haven't seen it yet. I have it linked in the video description down below. Now to my actual problem, which are in fact multiple problems. Problem 1, my squeeze bottles. I have various oils and sauces in my kitchen, and to make it easier to identify them, I labeled them. Unfortunately, the labels often come off to the oil itself, creating a big mess. Problem 2, my spices. A long time ago, I already printed labels on the side and on the lid. Unfortunately, they all look the same and sometimes it takes way too long to find the desired spice. Problem 3, my canned jars. I caught myself spending way too long searching for canned goods or, for example, a specific cream. All the jars look the same from the top and you have to take them out of the drawer to see what's inside. It's very annoying. A solution was needed. Inspired by Frenchfinity, I developed a small sidekick project and named it Spicefinity. Sorry M3770R, I know you came up with this name first, hope it's okay that I'm claiming it. But what exactly is Spicefinity? Spicefinity is a system that generates matching labels for spice racks, sauce dispensers, canned jars and similar containers. Here's a small sneak preview. As always, the project is, of course, open source and free. In detail, the system consists of the following components. The lid adapter is the part that is placed over the lid and stays there permanently. This way, the adapter doesn't need to be reprinted when the contents change. Instead, a new lid can simply be screwed on. In my case, I printed the most adapters in black. Only for the spices, I printed them in the lid's color because that just looks better in a small format. In the middle of the lid adapter, there is a thread onto which the labeled lid can ultimately be screwed. The lid with the label on it can be screwed on. Surprise. The lid itself can be open or closed in the middle. The open lid makes sense for squeeze bottles because the tip fits perfectly through the hole in the middle. The closed lid makes sense for small bottles or jars such as spice dispensers or the well-known Nutella jar. And it's also quite practical for canned goods as it allows the entire space on the lid to be fully used for the label. By the way, the labeling is generated automatically, making multicolor printing very easy to configure. To ensure my spices are also easy to recognize from the side, I invented the square badge. The square badge contains the description on all 4 sides and can be slipped over a rectangular bottle from the top. To prevent it from slipping, it has a small inward constriction at the top. This also ensures that all labels are at the same height on the bottle, which greatly satisfies my need for organization. There is also a ring in the Fusion 360 file. However, since I never actually used it, this feature has not been tested. Another problem was that my squeeze bottles were never in the same place in the drawer. To solve this problem, Spicefinity also generates a base that fits the bottle perfectly. Of course, the labeling is also placed on the base itself, making incorrect placement almost impossible. To ensure that multiple bases fit well together, there are these small connectors. With them, 2 bases can be connected together and should then slide around less in the drawer. And now you are probably wondering how this all looks in everyday use, right? So here's a small overview. Really cool. Now I will briefly go into my use cases in detail. Use case 1 are my squeeze bottles. They were the trigger inspiration for the Spicefinity project. The problem here was that the labels didn't stick to the bottles for long. and the bottles were never in the same position, which caused a huge searching effort. Greeting to my wife. Here I mounted a black lid adapter on all squeeze bottles. After that I was able to print various lids, each in a different combination of text and background color. Additionally, I printed color matching bases to find the right sauce or oil even faster while cooking. It looks great and the label no longer falls off the bottle when a drop of oil lands on it. The second use case is the spice rack. Because my spice rack was, before the update, just a rack. It was already labeled, but due to the fact that spices are basically green, in shades of green, it was very hard to find them. Here I printed the lid and the lid adapter in the same color, and also created a color matching square badge to make finding the spices even easier. Due to the limited space, I decided against an additional base in this case. The last use case is mainly shaped by the searching for creams and canned jars. Since these often don't have a label from the manufacturer on the lid on the top, the cans often have to be lifted individually to identify the contents. Here, once again, I printed lid adapters in 2 different sizes and then printed matching colored lids. If multiple jars contain different variations of peanuts, for example, I tried to match them by color as well. Feel free to subscribe if you like our channel and the projects. That would make me really happy. Spicefinity, like our previous projects, is free and I look forward to your feedback. Spicefinity is based on Fusion 360 and it's configurable in such a way that all the presented use cases can be implemented with the same model. Isn't that great? To adjust the project's parameters, you need to click on Modify and then select Change Parameters. Some of the relevant parameters are inner diameter, which is the inner diameter of the lid adapter and corresponds to the outer diameter of the lid. The parameter lid height defines the height of the lid. I kept it at 4 mm for all lids. Another particularly important parameter is the base height. It defines the height of the entire lid onto which the lid adapter should be attached. This value should therefore be exactly as high as the lid of, for example, a canned jar. The last, potentially more relevant parameter is the calculated grip diameter modifier. What the fuck, what a long name. You can see I'm a German. The parameter is responsible for correctly calculating the grip area of the lid adapter. It simply exists because I couldn't come up with the correct formula for calculating the circles, because I'm stupid. If someone can do this, I would be happy about an updated and adjusted Fusion 360 file. Once all parameters have been properly configured, the label can be adjusted via Modify and then Change Text Parameters. If you are thirsty, now would be the right time to get a drink, because Fusion 360 actually takes 20 to 40 seconds to render the new text in all objects. And of course, it's never a bad idea to stay hydrated. For this to work, the Fusion 360 extension parametric text is required. I have linked it in the video description down below. Just like Frenchfinity, Spicefinity also creates the matching file names as text sketches. And of course, all relevant parameters used are also printed on the physical part. This makes it very easy to produce additional matching parts at a later time without having to remember the original production details. To reprint individual parts, they can simply be exported via Fusion 360. If I want to print a 2-colored lid, for example, I first have to export the lid itself and then the corresponding text. Embedded texts are always separate components that must be also exported separately. Otherwise you got a plain lid without text on it, right? The 2 STL files generated this way then can be simply imported into Bamboo Studio and colored as you like. To make the whole process even easier for you, I have uploaded my various setups, including all color settings, into a profile for Bamboo Studio. So if you have the exact same spices or sauces as I do and you are using the same container sizes by chance, you should be able to use the existing files right away without any extra effort. Disclaimer, I only have German labels because I'm a German and I labeled my spices and oils and sauces Germans. So there is Schnittlauch, you know, Schnittlauch, and there is coriander, and there is stuff like that. The colors can, of course, be adjusted as desired. That's it. What do you think of this little project? Personally, I underestimated it a little, as it turned out to be a bit more extensive than initially planned. Still, my waste remained within limits, not that big failed print box like in the Frenchfinity project. So thanks for watching. I'm very curious to hear what you think about Spicefinity. Bye bye, have a good time.